Thanks for tuning in to Barbershop Sports Talk.
Oh, we're back with Barbershop Sports Talk. We have some bonus content. Kitty's going to stick around for a little bit longer, and we're going to do a tier list of all the quarterbacks in the NFL. And the way I'm looking at this, Kenny, is let's just do all 32, and we can just tier them up, and we can just have just put them all in categories. So just tell me how you want to do it, Kenny. I'll let you take the floor.
Yeah, so I kind of did this last week. We've been talking about this for a while. Kind of just did this. I think the tiers, don't think there's much debate between them. I think it's, it's kind of straightforward. Maybe in the off season to put some science and some statistics behind this as well, because this is definitely fascinating. So, what I did, Daryl, is I got 4 categories here. I got your elite level franchise quarterbacks. You can continue to change the skill groups around the guys. They're going to still put out numbers. Then I got a tier 2 group. These guys are still guys that have had, I think playoff success could be coming for them. Arrows pointing up. Teams do good. I put a lot of emphasis on team plays. I do think winning should be a very important metric for quarterback play too. And then you got the next group is tier 3. These are all good guys too. Kind of determining more along the lines are these guys talk about, are they trucks or trailers? Can they carry a group, or do they need to kind of be carried a little bit? More upside with the younger guys in this group than a few of the older guys. And then I put everyone else in tier 4. And tier 4 is one of the worst quarterback groups in the league. Your bottom 8. I did put the rookies in there because I think the rookies need to prove it versus kind of being anointed into a spot. So I got the 3 rookies from this year's class in tier 4, and they start off there and they get reevaluated every year. But you could almost call it 4A and 4B, because we'll go through this. I think Burrow is different from Drew Lock, but that's kind of how I did it.
Okay, so, and obviously I haven't seen your list, but when I think of this, so tier 1 is like the cream of the crop. Let's just say that's Patrick Mahomes. Like, that's the face that comes to mind. Patrick Mahomes. It doesn't matter who's there, he's going to be successful. Then 2 is the guys who maybe are a little bit more interchangeable with the coach and the weapons, but they win. And when I see that name, I see Jared Goff. 3rd is, maybe guys that, are going to need a little bit more help. Maybe they need to be in the complete perfect situation to win. I'm thinking of a Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins, I guess, comes the name spot on. And then 4 is, you have the rookies and you have the bad quarterbacks. So like Gardner Minshew, or I keep forgetting the guy that started for Jacksonville. It's not Luke. What's his name, Kenny?
Jake Luton.
Yeah, Jake. It's Jake. I'm sorry, I keep forgetting his name. He's just so bad. So Jake. I just picture that. Or Nathan Peterman, even though Nathan Peterman's now starting quarterback. So is that kind of accurate representation, me asking you? Are those the faces that come to mind for each group?
Yes, and you had those. Yeah, I mean, you had those 4 tiers correct, and each of your 4 examples were correctly in those 4 tiers as well.
Okay. So let's start with tier 1, the Patrick Mahomes tier, the elite tier. Who do we have?
Yeah, elite tier, being able to train a different set of receivers and skill groups, and as unlike tier 2, is these guys have done it year after year. So Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Ben Roethlisberger.
So you have 6 guys.
Yes. Yeah.
So we have Mahomes, Big Ben, Brady, Breeze, Russell Wilson, and Aaron Rodgers. Now that's interesting. I'm actually surprised you have Drew Brees and Big Ben in there. So is the reason you have those guys more in there more for the fact of their experience and like their veteran leadership and their pedigree?
Yeah, that along with the fact is, let me pull up. I'm trying to real quick. I'm pulling up. I want to pull up Big Ben's line for a minute. I mean, this year, 67%, 22 touchdowns, 4 picks. That's just off the touchdown to interception ratio of Patrick Mahomes, 22-4. And he's really come back after his elbow injury and playing at a high level. Something we talked about last week was just him and Tomlin not getting the respect that they should be with their contemporaries, but Ben's definitely playing at a high level though this year, and he's doing it with a different group of receivers. He's training Claypool and Deontay Johnson this year with Ebron. Very commendable job. Passing attack hasn't really missed a beat this year for them.
Okay, and Breeze?
Yeah, Breeze just continues to do it. He just continues to do it in different ways. He's been at a high level with for several years. He's had to change his game to be kind of winning more with your mind pre-snap. Still doing that at a high level. Doesn't turn the ball over. 75% completion percentage. Being the trigger man of very high scoring, efficient offense. Drew Brees continues to do it, even at the age of 40.
Okay.
Over the age of 40.
So, what's your tier 2? And those are the guys who, that's the Jared Goff group. Those are the guys that have had playoff success, maybe are more quarterback, more coach, skill position, defense dependent.
Yeah, this is one where all of them, I'm looking at this, Goff's been to the Super Bowl in this one, but some guys that, you want to see them do it for a couple more years at this high level, but they're all playing at a high level right now. And, getting their team to the playoffs -1. But Ryan Tannehill, Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott, Derek Carr, Jared Goff, and Matt Stafford I have as tier 2.
Okay. Now, you don't have Deshaun?
Well, Deshaun is a very tough one. It's still, I don't think his, where he is as a player, I don't think it's, there's a high level of floor and ceiling to, where he's at right now with kind of where he's going to be. So he's at the top of tier 3, but I could see he put him into tier 2. Got banged up as a rookie, but this year though is, regardless of what's happening around him though, I don't think anybody had the Texans at 3-7 now. So potentially see where they end up at, but he's right on that fence. As a guy still trying to kind of figure him out and figure out the Texans long term. That was a tough group to put him into, but I could see if somebody has him in tier 2 though.
So, can you repeat your tier 2 again?
Yeah, it's Ryan Tannehill, Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott, Derek Carr, Jared Goff, and Matt Stafford.
Matt Stafford. Why do you have Stafford?
Contested one, yeah. This is a guy who's got 37 comebacks, got 37 game-winning drives. I think it'd be different. We talk about the quarterback position of the 49ers, Daryl, and you picture him with Kyle Shanahan. I don't know if he would have had maybe like a year like Matt Ryan in 2016, but I think he's really been undone by his organization, kind of similar to maybe, hopefully not depending if you're a Bengals fan, what Joe Burrow might be to the Bengals, but Matt Stafford's been a guy that's been able to put up numbers, been a efficient player. He doesn't have those lump sum turnovers, but of that group, he does not have a playoff win, and he's been in more playoff games than everybody in that group. So, up there with Goff, both of, I think, 3.
Okay, now let's go to your tier 3, and this is going to be big because not only Deshaun Watson, another person that's going to be in your tier 3 is Lamar. So, at least I think. Yeah. So give us your tier 3. And these are the guys, right, that, in the Kirk Cousins picture, I picture Kirk Cousins. They need a lot of talent around them. They're very dependent on who's around them, and depending on who's around them, they can have a lot of success. A lesser form, I guess, of tier 2. I guess a poor man's tier 2. I guess maybe that's the way to put these guys. So who was that?
Yes. But in spurts, though, they can also put the team on their back, though, in spurts, though. But not as much as the other guys. So, a little bit of a kind of a maybe like a 3A or a 3B. But here's who I got. I got Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, Kirk Cousins, Teddy Bridgewater, Matt Ryan, and Jimmy Garoppolo.
Repeat that again.
Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, Kirk Cousins, Teddy Bridgewater, Matt Ryan, Jimmy Garoppolo.
Matt Ryan, Jimmy Garoppolo. So I have Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, Teddy Bridgewater, Matt Ryan, Deshaun Watson, Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah.
Okay. I think the biggest one is Lamar. Why is Lamar so low? He was MVP of the league last year. Now, I know we talked about this at the beginning of the podcast in terms of his regression, but I still think maybe, you don't expect an MVP to be in the 3rd tier of the league, because if we're doing this as a numbers game, right, we're at 6 is in your tier 1, then you get to tier 2, and the guys you have, you're basically saying Lamar is kind of outside of your top 10. Which is kind of crazy when you consider that he's a league MVP. So why is that?
Yeah, they take a look at Lamar, clear book, how to defend him. Taking a step back this year, and not asked to do a lot as a rookie last year. Yes, he did win the MVP. I think a lot of that though was schematic and Greg Roman, and he's a guy. This is going to be a big opportunity for him in the playoffs, because he's 0-2 in the playoffs, and they got the rinky-dink offense, and you're looking at, can they actually win that way with that offense and being so run heavy, kind of almost like a pseudo triple option, like with Lamar and a running back and usually somebody else in the backfield. And it's been one, quite frankly, it hasn't worked against a great team. It hasn't worked in the playoffs against the Titans and the Chargers. Go right down the line, the top teams. It hasn't worked against the Titans, Steelers, Chiefs this year too. And I think the big game was the Chiefs game this year was very eye-opening for the Ravens, and I think it puts a big ceiling on how far that they could get. So that's kind of looking at that, kind of looking at everything, including the MVP, but kind of considering everything in this instance.
When you also look at this list, Matt Ryan's a former MVP. Jimmy Garoppolo went to a Super Bowl. So I just think that kind of shows when we're talking about tiers, right? Matt Ryan had Kyle Shanahan that year. Jimmy Garoppolo had Kyle Shanahan too. And he had Julio Jones. And Jimmy Garoppolo had one of the best defenses in the NFL that year too. So I think that's kind of what you're talking about. Now let's get to tier 4.
Yeah, tier 4 it's a combination of, it's almost 4A and 4B, and you know, I think it's pretty self-explanatory, the 4A and the 4B here, is you have rookies that you got to get more of a feel for them. Just countless examples of rookies who have excelled in year 1 or have been really bad in year 1 that have gone totally different directions, like a Jared Goff in year 1 and Robert Griffin III in year 1. So let's kind of pump the brakes on these guys. But you know, if we do this again, some of these guys get into tier 3 or tier 2. Other guys might be looking for work in different places. So here it is. Joe Burrow, Tua, Cam Newton, Sam Darnold, Phil Rivers, whoever Jacksonville has at quarterback, Drew Lock, Justin Herbert, Carson Wentz, Daniel Jones, whoever Washington football team has at quarterback, and whoever the Chicago Bears have at quarterback. And I think in this instance, especially the lower level guys here, is quarterback is definitely, you know, they're either not for the long term or they're holding back their team, specifically looking at Chicago.
Now it's damning. You mentioned Cam Newton and Carson Wentz, 2 guys that were drafted very high, 2 guys that, when we talk apex, Cam was an MVP. Carson Wentz probably would have been MVP if he didn't get hurt. Why do you put those 2 guys there? Because those are 2 guys with pedigree. They have pedigree. These are 2 guys with pedigree, and they've done things in the league.
Yeah, exactly. So they've had let's go with Cam Newton first. So Cam Newton he's been on a kind of a downward slope since the Super Bowl. Went back to Carolina, banged up with the shoulder injury. This year with New England, you know, on a team that's probably going to be looking at a team that's going to be under 500. And you take a look at the hierarchy, though, Daryl, is I don't know if there's a team that wants to go would hitch their wagons long term with Cam Newton. So, you know, kind of looking at maybe 1-year runs in different places, but you know, I think the athletic ability and the accuracy in throwing, I think you would maybe look at a younger guy to kind of move forward with, like a Lawrence or a Fields or a Burrow to a Herbert than Cam Newton. So, you know, it's kind of hurt in the offseason, have a tough time finding a landing spot, I think, because of that. And it's going to be interesting to see if New England wants to kind of build around him or if they want to go in a different direction with a younger guy. And if that happens, you look at the quarterback openings around the league and where does that fit in with Cam, and can Cam play at a high level to compete with whoever's in the division, whether it be Ben Roethlisberger, NFC West, Aaron Rodgers, he goes to an NFC North team, so that's kind of my thinking there. With Wentz has been on a downward spiral. He's got the triple crown for quarterbacks in a negative way. He leads all quarterbacks in turnovers, sacks, interceptions. Last in completion percentage, second worst in QBR. If it wasn't the second pick in the draft, we would be talking about this guy like a Dwayne Haskins or like a, you know, someone else in this group. I mean, and it's been, yeah, he had the nice year in 2017, but you know, it's really been pointing downward for several years. His numbers have dipped for 3 straight years. It's a downward track.
Now, Sam Darnold. Is Sam Darnold a bust? It's his 3rd year in the league. No, excuse me, it's not his 3rd year in the league. Is it? No, it is his 3rd year in the league.
Yeah.
It is his 3rd year in the league. Is he a bust, right? We kind of know what Baker is. Josh, even Lamar. We know Josh Rosen is a bust. I never thought he got a chance, but he's a bust. Is Sam Darnold a bust?
No, I wouldn't call him a bust. I think other than Josh Rosen, I think those four quarterbacks in 2018. I don't think you'll fully know I don't think you'll fully know with all those guys until like after their full rookie deal is over after year 5, and definitely after year 4 to get a feel if you want to kind of really go forward with these quarterbacks. And I think he's gonna be hurt in the fact that he won't have the luxury of Cleveland, Buffalo, Baltimore continuing to build with those young quarterbacks. I think they're gonna definitely go with Trevor Lawrence, but if he could kind of get the turnover play out of him, he has shown flashes, but it's just been limited flashes of playing the quarterback position. And sometimes it's not due to the fact that guys around him, it's due to poor decision making, bad interception, balls being out on the ground in the pocket, so things like that. So I wouldn't call him a bust because I think he can be fixed. But his issue with Darnold, looking at his career, is he's probably going to be on a second team in year 4. And he's going to be on a second team. I don't know how that team would view him. Do we really start building around him and go forward, or are we just looking for a stopgap for someone else? So I wouldn't call him a bust. I really think you got to look at 4 or 5 years before you start really definitively putting a pinpoint mark on the quarterbacks, because it is due to the fact with a lot of guys with a lot of stakeholders around them too.
Well, Kenny, thank you for staying a little bit longer doing that tier list. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And definitely with Thanksgiving coming up, have a good Thanksgiving. Good time to spend some time with the family, and it's good time with family and football right now. So have a good Thanksgiving. We'll talk to you after Thanksgiving next week.